Hey everybody, I'm Nico.
And I'm TK.
And that makes this X is for Comics, your one-stop shop for all of the things comics that we are talking about. This is a new thing. We're just talking topics and having a good time. I'm here to have a good time. I'm pretty excited about our topic today. We're talking cosmic comics all over the place. One of the things that I'm excited about is this is like a good time for cosmic comics. And you can't usually say that.
Yeah, it's one of those things, man. Every time we get there, I think to myself, oh, I really like all this stuff. And then whenever we're away from it, I always think I don't really care about any of this. And that's with Marvel. With DC, it's been very interesting. I don't know, man. DC has cosmic woven in a little bit better than, because their big guy is an alien.
Yeah.
So like no matter what, like they're always really shooting for the stars in the way that, like, I don't know. I mean, even Thor being somewhat cosmic doesn't feel the same as Superman being from another planet.
Yeah, okay. And you know what? In part because I feel like Marvel's usage of Thor as a cosmic being is sort of on par with one of the shenanigans they pulled in Green Lantern this past arc, and I'm really excited to talk about that. Poor Nort. It's been fascinating because, like, I don't know that cosmic was as big a thing at Marvel as it was at DC, because like even when they went to space for Secret Wars in the 80s, it was always still like a really muted kind of cosmic. Whereas, you know, DC was just always like, you know, blast your shit in space, nobody can fuck as hard as a star or whatever. And so then Marvel gets Annihilation in like 2006, and it like really changed the cosmic game, especially for me.
Yeah, it's weird because I grew up with the Kree Skrull War. I think I came to the Kree Skrull War and the Kree and the Skrulls a little bit later, but my first thing was, I think my first taste of Cosmic Marvel was the Shi'ar through X-Men the Animated Series, and they seemed really cool. And then that got me into sort of exploring a little bit more what Cosmic Marvel was like. And that's sort of how I found out about things like the Kree and the Skrulls. And I always found it super interesting lore and background information, but there was never much going on. Like, it always was cool to me that the leader of the X-Men, who it took me a while to realize is a bad man, his girlfriend was a space bird. Like that was really cool. I was like, that this guy he fucks a space bird. What a cool dude. And like their other friend is a different kind of space bird. Like there was always cool stuff with the X-Men in space, but then it just felt like space was kind of their Ryza, to borrow another property. You know, like on TNG, they always talk about Ryza, this cool like planet that they go to for sexy, fun vacation time. But like we don't spend a ton of time there. Like every once in a while, there's a Ryza episode or a Ryza mention.
You just get sexy as needed on Star Trek. It's the X-Men try to stay sexy.
Well, they try and stay sexy, but they get cosmic as needed on X-Men. And so I was like, you know, space is where you go when you are bored with Kitty Pryde skating around the mall and you need her to be skating around a Brood warship. But you know, again, by contrast, like Superman is from space, the Green Lanterns are from space. So much of DC is like, oh yeah, space is where we are the other half of the time. Whereas Marvel, it's like, this is maybe our once every 5 to 10 years vacation. And that did start to sort of change. They did try and flip that up. Marvel did realize, I mean, you know, like the Fantastic Four's powers come from space, but it also feels like it's kind of low orbit. But then, yeah, we do get things like Annihilus bringing the Annihilation Wave. We do kind of see attempts in the early 2000s to start making Cosmic Marvel more of a thing. I just feel like I'm stoked about Imperial, and I'm stoked to really dig into it. But I always come to Marvel shit with these heavy reservations and this very raised eyebrow. And this one is like, okay, but Imperial feels like Annihilation. Like, you gave us Annihilation, and we're like, don't worry, from here on out, Cosmic is like X-Men, Cosmic is like Avengers. Like, there's always going to be a thing. And then so many that we never heard from Nova again. I mean, we every now and then, but like, there's never been an ongoing Nova book. The only thing that's really often ongoing is Guardians of the Galaxy. And
didn't Sam have an ongoing Nova book? Like the kid had one.
Yeah,
not
right.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, it's just been really uneven, and it constantly feels untapped. It doesn't. I don't know. It just feels, again, the thing I always say is money on the table. Like, it just feels like even if that was their attempt at experimenting with a more magazine style, just to have Marvel Cosmic and have that be an anthology series of 4 to 8 page stories, I'd be super stoked for that. But there's a lot to love in space with Marvel.
And I feel like part of it has to do with something you've already touched on. You can like X-Men Cosmic, you can like Avengers Cosmic, you can like Fantastic Four Cosmic. I don't know about you, but I'm about to get the most exciting giant head in a movie theater I've ever gotten. I'm actually not going to get it. I'm not going to get the big Galactus head. I'm getting the bucket. The Herbie bucket is like a Herbie that carries a candy,
the popcorn bucket?
No. So it's
okay.
It's
a whole snack tray.
It's a snack tray Herbie.
Okay.
It's amazing.
And the Galactus is the popcorn bucket.
And the Galactus is the popcorn
okay, that's
bucket.
What I thought. Okay.
It is 340 ounces of popcorn. A standard large in comparison next to it is like 130, and it is 340 with the giant handle things coming off the side and a little Keebler Elfie face. It's intense.
I don't want to be
the size of one child if it were liquefied.
I don't want to be annoying, but that's one of those things where they've definitely pushed it too far for me. Like,
just a bit.
I get it. Galactus is a big head, and anyway, I love head, but it's still point of game.
Yeah.
I think that there is so much cosmic going on at Marvel, and there's so much cosmic going on at DC. There's a whole lot of different ways to be, so many ways to be cosmic. And I think that that's part of where, like, I wonder what we're facing when it comes to the next phase of Marvel and DC. I got some vibes that I don't know that everybody feels the same on, but like, I really do feel like Marvel and DC are kind of making it clear that there's not a whole lot of way forward for either one of them without each other. And that might even be because I don't know if you guys have heard, but 25 minutes was cut from the upcoming Alien film, Superman. 25 minutes was cut. That's actually not an insignificant amount of film to cut, and it's evidently because they were told to cut all of the humor. So it is now a much less funny movie, and I don't know about you guys, but if you've ever directed anything and you're directing for humor, then it's one thing. You can't just cut the fucking joke out, right? So like, I'm now pretty nervous. And I think that because, Marvel can see what an incredible job the Russos keep doing with everything they're doing. They're probably feeling so strong about Doomsday right now. But I feel like Marvel and DC are going to have to work together in the immediate future. And for those of you who don't know, the most significant Marvel DC crossover of all time, Marvel vs. DC, DC vs. Marvel, which resulted in the Amalgam universe, is actually kicked off by a special where the Silver Surfer meets Green Lantern Kyle Rayner. And that's actually how Marvel vs. DC kicks off. So, like, the cosmic of these two universes is their bridge automatically.
Yeah, it can all happen out in space, and that also just feels like a big no man's land where these kinds of things can happen. This is one of those things where I'm like, I can see why what you're saying makes sense, and my only caveat is I think your ideas might be better than the companies that are working here. So the only reason I don't see this being the case is because I don't think people are on your level with these
Dream
ideas.
bigger, homo.
I mean, that is essentially what I'm asking of the world. So I mean, like, I think you're right, because I think we're seeing a lot of stagnation, and a lot of treating stuff like it's really sacred, in a way that like is just keeping anything from getting done or getting interesting. And yeah, I mean, it really will be interesting to see. You know, there have been a lot of polls going out, people saying if they only have the money for one, they want to go see Superman. That's the one you gotta see.
Between what?
Fantastic Four and Superman. I think a lot of it is not based on the movies. I think it's based on the fact that, like, of the properties, Superman's the bigger property.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, sure.
That's the guy. And at the same time, I'm looking at it and I'm seeing we're a month away, and I'm seeing no promotion for Fantastic Four. Like, when I compare it to Wolverine and Deadpool, which again, my feeling is like Wolverine and Deadpool didn't need any promotion. We were all going to go see that movie. It was Wolverine and Deadpool and Wolverine. Fantastic Four, I think people need to know a little bit. Like, is it funny? Is it at all funny? Is it? I mean, it seems like a little quirky, but like, does it have good jokes? Like, is it going to be funny? Is Pedro Pascal really fuckable, or is he more like Reed Richards? Is this Vanessa Kirby sort of backdoor piloting her own leadership of the team, or is she going to have sort of like a sad Sue Storm in the background role? Like, I have no answers to any of these questions, and I want to watch the movie to find out, but I also need a little bit of like, throw me some hints, like, promote your fucking movie.
Well, I don't know if you've heard, but there was a big hint that just came out the other day. They announced that the bad guy will be able to hold a record amount of popcorn in his head.
That is how you sort of start to leak the information. Yeah. Depending on how much popcorn your bad guy could have in his head, that's how you know the humor of the film. I mean, I did see, like, the rumor I saw for the longest time that made me think, like, this could actually be kind of a funny movie is that Natasha Lyonne would actually be voicing Herbie, which I thought was hilarious. And she's not. They just announced who the guy is, and
Wouldn't it be funny practice and she just kept calling everybody a cockroach?
Yes. Actually, in fact, that would be the funniest possible thing. I just know we're not doing that. So, I mean, at this point, there's just no way she's not playing Alicia Masters, or just like she's playing Natasha Lyonne, who lives next door to the Baxter building, and they are constantly having problems with each other. But I don't know what this movie is. I've seen no promotion for it. It doesn't feel like it's going to do that well, but I think it's going to be a great movie. Meanwhile, I'm seeing constant promotion for Superman. I don't think it looks very good. I imagine some studio execs were really right that James Gunn tried to James Gunnify another movie and make it too like James Gunn's humor. And then their solution to that was cut out all the jokes, which is going too far over the line. Those things needed to happen in rewrites where somebody says to him, like, hey, James, like, I get that you love to do these funny jokes and like have the guys talk about like funny songs that they like, but let's maybe try this, or we're going to bring in another person to help punch up the humor. So it's a little different than the same thing you do in every single thing that you write every single time. And I think now we are stuck in that position where it was a very good instinct to rein James Gunn in, but James Gunn instinct that Superman could be a little less joyless compared to the rest of the DC universe as it has constantly come out, with the exception of Suicide Squad. I think that is
an example of a very happy, joyful movie.
I mean, it's really funny. Like, it's silly. I mean, happy and joyful, no, but it is funny and silly. And
American government is funny and silly.
It truly is, in dark, horrifying ways. So I mean, I think meeting in the middle on those two would have been great, but I can see what we are instead doing is rocking the boat from extreme to extreme. I think Superman is going to do much better at the box office. I think it's going to be a much worse movie. And my point kind of being, you're right. These two companies sort of do need each other and do need some form of collaboration or sort of at least fraternity to be able to say, like, we do, we DC Comics do cosmic great, and we maybe do so much of it that we oversaturate. We Marvel don't do cosmic that great, and we often don't do it justice, except for when we take out our biggest fucking gun and let him do the thing that he does best.
James Gunn,
who we gave to you guys for free because we just kept shitting on him. I'm of course talking about Jonathan Hickman and Imperial. We've got one good cosmic issue. I can't think of the last time we had one before this. Can you? Like, what was the last good cosmic thing we had before this?
well, before that, Kevo, what you got?
Kevo, what you got?
You were pivoting back to comics. I was going to tangent you. So
No.
I can save mine for the end if we want to have a.
Nah,
further
I
discussion.
I want to hear it.
Well, I'm thinking, I agree with a lot of what you guys are saying about the movie. I've seen a lot of promotion for Fantastic Four. It's just the same promotion over and over again. It's not anything new. It's not more information. So I agree with a lot of what you're saying. And the promotion I'm seeing for Superman, I actually am glad to hear they're cutting jokes, because I just learned today that Alan Tudyk is the voice of the Superbots. And I'm like, of course he is, because why wouldn't he be?
Right.
So I'm actually kind of relieved and curious to see how that is going to end up with cutting the jokes. But my question was going to be, Superman is a month away, and Fantastic Four is about a month and a half away, and I was curious what your thoughts were on which position is better. So if you want to save that for later or answer it now, but that was what I was... Interesting thought.
It's a good question.
I love my brilliant, incredible, sexy, handsome brother. Your points are so great, dude. I really love where you're coming from.
It sounds like there's a huge butt coming in.
I feel exactly the same, but the opposite.
Okay.
And feel that makes your reasons just as valid.
What you got?
I believe that Fantastic Four will be the more successful film, regardless of quality.
Okay.
Because the thing that I did not realize until this morning is that Aquaman made over $1 billion, and Aquaman 2 made just about 500 million. And I did not realize, like, I read a really great article today that said it's not that Katy Perry sucks now, it's that we now understand that is what sucking is, and we've always misread her. And that we as people have gotten better. She has stayed exactly the same. And the article went on to say that technically she's actually only ever had one hit record. She's had like a moderate hit record and then one huge hit record, and everything else has kind of been a flop. So she's had 4 flops and 2 hits. And it actually turns out that if you look at the financials of the DC universe, it's the same. They've had like 2 hits.
So there's
flops.
There's more pinned on Superman than there is on Fantastic Four.
If Superman even once says, if Superman even once calls himself Superman by accident, everybody in the audience is going to say you're stupid. And
if he goes, ha, he's not going to be president.
He'll never be president. If he goes, ha, even once. And so I really feel like if Superman makes a single mistake, everyone's going to laugh at it. But if Fantastic Four is clunky, people are going to go, yeah, but wasn't Yelena so good in Thunderbolts?
Yeah, man, I just don't know. I do get it. I don't know where we are right now, though, because now after the hugely positive reception that Thunderbolts got, the next week of articles was that financially it was a flop. And we can't win. I mean, like, I don't know who Fantastic Four is for. Like, who's saying we are so back about Fantastic Four? You know what I mean? People were saying it about
even Chris Evans is selling his LA home for twice as much money so he can move back to the East Coast and be closer to his family. The Fantastic Four has driven him that out of Hollywood.
Yeah, after he gets his paycheck from playing 4 different people in Doomsday, we're told now.
Can't wait.
Truly.
I can't
I hope they all kiss.
and I hope that all of them have that image in their phone. What was it? We must protect.
Oh my God,
I don't
guard that
remember
pussy.
now. Guard that pussy. Thank you.
I'm sorry, it just came right out because, how could it not?
I mean, like, is Fantastic Four for heterosexual men and women our age who want to be Reed and Sue? And like, or is it like for, I mean, even younger people, because Reed and Sue are about to have their first child, although anyway, like, who is it for? Who is it for? Who is going to be watching this movie? And if it does cool things, is going to be like, this is the Marvel that I wanted. It's a unique property. And I mean, I have very specific feelings about Fantastic Four. I think they can be really cool. I think it almost never happens. I think it's been a really long time since it has. I think Marvel really should let me write it because I have the best storyline possible for them. But
you basically have Kramer versus Kramer with stretching powers.
That is 100% correct. And a dude on fire in the background.
Also played.
That's pretty close to the original.
I don't know. I don't know who this is for. I don't know who this is for. And it's really difficult to picture who's going to be excited in the theater. I can picture everybody going to the movie and even enjoying it, but I just don't know who's going to be like, this is the Marvel that I've been looking for. Whereas with Superman, I just feel like
more accessible.
Well, I don't know. One of us is right. Either the bar is so low that if he gets on stage and ties his shoes correctly, they're going to call it a win, or the bar is so high because DC can't ever do anything right that we're just like, the bar is so high for a company that is so low. Like, the bar is just do something right, and they're still not going to be able to do it, and they are going to fall on their faces. I don't know which one it is. But I know that Superman is a more iconic character than the Fantastic Four. And I know that I don't believe that the American and even international audiences are introspective enough to really reflect and go, we have been tricked by this James Gunn man one too many fucking times. He has no other tricks. It is just the one. And we have seen it, and he's not going to do anything else. I will be so fascinated to see how this pans out. In terms of timing, I think coming after Superman will work in Fantastic Four's favor. I did not realize that they were coming after. I think that will work in their favor. I think going first might work in Superman's favor insofar as they can't be compared to the better movie. But I think if Superman is bad, people who go to both will be like, oh, finally a good superhero movie this summer.
It's tough. Yeah, I feel like you really do wind up in a position where, like, if you put all of the Smurfs movies in front of you, you're gonna go, well, that one is the best. That one.
Yeah, that one's the best. Like, I've seen them all. I can tell you that's the best one.
Yeah. No, Smurfs 4, Smurfs versus Leprechaun, this time it's Tiny and Angry, is absolutely the horror entry is the best. Speaking of horrors, if you do want a little cosmic action, please do check out this month's refreshed Marvel Contest of Champions. Now, I have not been playing religiously. I'm hoping that this new round of stuff gets me back in. The PC version's really fun. They've added some new stuff, but I bring it up because it is fanning the flames of our faggotry with a ton of free queer characters. This month, it's Nico and Carolina are the story characters. There's a lot for Hulkling and Wiccan in terms of using them, and they definitely came up in Imperial. And I can't wait to talk more about Michael Imperioli. But one of the things that I want to get out first is, just because Is this the second fucking direct/state of play in a month where there's a Marvel game while they are also simultaneously canceling Marvel games and press releases as often as I am trying to get a whole sentence out on this show?
It's been a little more than a month, I believe, since the last direct. But yeah, I mean, like, again, such a weird place that Marvel is in. And it's also insane. So for anybody who was not just literally watching an hour ago, during the PlayStation State of Play, they announced Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls, which is a 4v4 fighting game that is made by Arc Systems, which makes Guilty Gear. So it's vaguely, let's say, in the style of Guilty Gear. It is very much its own game, featuring Cap, Iron Man, Spider-Man, Peter Quill, Kamala Khan, Peter Parker, Doom, Ghost Rider, and Storm. Are the characters we're starting out with, and you can actually do 4v4 play. Really cool, really exciting. This almost definitely means we're not doing Marvel vs. Capcom 4 anytime soon. We know we canceled the Wakanda game.
Yeah.
We pushed back the 1936 game.
No, Wolverine and Iron Man games still have no date.
Yeah, nothing. I mean, those could be almost done, or they might be 3 or 4 years away. We have no idea.
It's really Schrodinger's superhero game, isn't it?
That is, yes, it is exactly that. We have no idea what is ever happening with Marvel until they just kind of randomly announce it, which honestly, in some ways, is a better thing, because I was excited to get Marvel Tokon. I sort of only can think about what is missing from a Wolverine game just by dint of it being called a Wolverine game. This is something we talked about a few episodes ago, where I was like, is Jean going to be in this game? And then why isn't it about Jean? You know, if Jean's in the game, why isn't Cyclops in the game? So why isn't this just an X-Men game?
That's me reading Green Lantern Corps being like, there's too many of them. I need 6 titles. I'm dying. I can't read this. This is
I was going to ask about that. I had questions there.
Smart man, good questions.
Yeah, I probably would be really excited. I wouldn't have time to complain if they were like, hey, you're getting a Wolverine game in 2 months. And I'd probably buy it. There's a good chance I'm not going to buy it now, because I've just considered all of the ways it cannot satisfy me sexually. I'm getting Tokon. Like, that's just happening.
I do get Tokon quite often.
There you go. The arcade style fighting one that's coming out for Switch, that's fine. I don't really care. But again, where's the next Ultimate Alliance, X-Men Legends, isometric style? When Diablo 4 has done such money, why would they not be doing
money?
Why would they not be doing that game?
What about using the 2D remaster HD style that has taken so much by storm? Obviously that there are very few companies I'm as alleged to as Marvel, Disney, etc. But like Square Enix, and whether it's Bravely Default HD or it's Final Fantasy Tactics remake. Now I have to get Switch 2. I got to get a PS5. Yep. There are too many options in that HD 2D remake. Yeah. I feel like Marvel could make an unbelievable number of crossover games that look like they're from your childhood.
Yeah, that pixel art style. It is still. I mean, I think it's not just the nostalgia and the retro factor, both of which are great. Pixel art is art. Like, people are still doing amazing, gorgeous things with pixel art. And I am perfectly happy to see every single Marvel character rendered in pixel art style for a game. I'm happy for it to be turn-based. I'm happy for it to be action. There's endless options. And I think more than anything, what we're missing is a feeling of cohesion. We're talking about all these games, and then of course there's also, Rivals, which just feels like it's just on the saddest downward spiral. Oh
my God, it's hard to even talk about.
Yeah,
but went from the most talked about game on the internet to a game that people felt saddled with their fandom of.
Yeah, the Ultron reveal, complete fucking dud. We're not doing any kind of pro play. It just
Droop.
feels like, yeah, such a flop. And I'm actually very excited. We did get the announcement that Mystic Mayhem has a release date. It's actually pretty soon. It's in a few weeks. And I think that's going to be a really fun mobile game, just in the same way that Contest of Champions has been a really fun mobile game that I've absolutely enjoyed as well. Contest of Champions is like the fucking most promising Marvel game of all time at this point, because it's like a cockroach. It has withstood everything. And it has actually grown. Like the fact that after all this time, when Nico got me into it 3 or 4 years ago, I said, I really like this game. I have a lot of trouble with the fact that it's on my phone. I have a lot of trouble with the fact that I can't plug it into a Bluetooth gamepad to play. Like that's always going to be a limiting factor for me. And I sort of said it to you, like, and I think you probably don't have long with this game. And me, the fool, because I was completely wrong. Like it's continued. They're clearly not showing any signs of faltering or anything like that. And then this year, after this time where I was like, okay, like, I guess this is just how they want to do it, and I'm just going to play it this way. I'm not going to like hope for anything else. That's when they released the PC version that you can now play with a controller. So anyway, fantastic game, really well done. I hope the same for Mystic Mayhem, but I do sort of start all of my expectations of mobile games with, this probably won't be very good. This probably won't last very long. This will probably be a cash grab for you to get the Mystic Mayhem bucks so you can buy boosts and hopefully leave a balance in your account when the whole thing shuts down. And that's what they take away to sell to a venture capitalist or a hedge fund. And that's sort of, as much as I am excited for Mystic Mayhem, that's my expectation.
It's your understanding of the industry that it's in.
Yeah, exactly. And this is just kind of like, okay, so these are the Marvel games. And I wish we were looking at something a little more cohesive. I understand that it would be really difficult to do it all in-house, and I love the people they partner with, but I wish, even if they were letting all these studios create the games, I wish Marvel Games had a Kevin Feige and people that we knew who we felt like were stewarding the games universe the way that Kevin Feige stewards the movie universe.
I completely not just agree, but I think it needs to start being a requirement of some of these companies, just to kick it back to something I love well, which is, Final Fantasy, and then to step it to the next place. Final Fantasy has so many, ruling figures. I don't know enough about the Zelda universe, but I feel like there are probably a handful of figures that help run that and are the guiding forces. And there may be additional people, and you could speak better on it, but like, that works for comics. Why aren't they doing it for the games?
Yeah, Zelda. I mean, I love that you brought that up, because there's the game. I mean, we started with Miyamoto, but like Eiji Aonuma, like there has always been, if it's not Miyamoto and Aonuma working on a Zelda game, which it's much less now because they're older and way higher up in the company, and they don't do the same thing day to day.
You are an old man and a fool.
We have seen the dynastic, like, oh, this was the assistant director who worked with Aonuma on Ocarina of Time, who then directed Wind Waker. I'm not, these credits are not exact, but I'm saying like that guy who is now directing the next game we saw was the assistant director of the last game, and Aonuma was still around. And like maybe was in a higher leadership role where he wasn't the director of the game, but his eyes were on it and his spirit was in it. And there is a thread of mentorship and connection at Nintendo game production. It's the same thing with like Splatoon, with so much of Nintendo music. Like it's, Koji Kondo did a lot of the early Zelda stuff, and then Koji Kondo would go on to continue to make music in Zelda, where other people would then start to take over and make more of the music, and then Koji Kondo would, come in and punch up his version of the Zelda theme for Skyward Sword or something like that. So there's a dynasty, and you see it all the way through. And while that is slightly different than having a Kevin Feige who stewards everything, it is the same spirit of institutional memory and somebody who is there, or a crew who is there steering the ship. And when their hand comes off the rudder, it's to a guy that was watching them, assisting them. It's not to just some other guy who said, hey, I pilot boats too, let me on.
And, you know, that's one of the things that is so important to when you're talking about comics at large.
We're 35 minutes in. We have barely talked about comics.
But that's the whole point. That's the whole point of the new function. Of
I
this
know.
show,
Right?
Right?
I love it. I'm happy with it.
I'm so happy, right? I fucking loved Imperial. I don't even know what to say. I went into Imperial expecting a real B- of a book, having felt like I didn't love really even later X-Men by Hickman. There was some good stuff, but that Shi'ar shit didn't really go anywhere. And it was sandwiched in between so many false promises. You know, it's interesting because KEVO has been a diehard nonstop Doctor Who fan. And I say that because he takes no responsibility for the fandom. And when RTD came back with this beautiful vengeance, and like, honestly, yeah, series 1 of Nshudi was not what I wanted. It was not my dream. You know, the 15th Doctor had some clunkers early on. But God, series 2 was so incredible. One of a kind experience as a fan of science fiction. What a breathtaking scope it portrayed. And it had to do with the wisdom of a man who came back 20 years later to say, I'm smarter now. And you know what? Sometimes the intelligence is making big misses. I felt like Gods was a big miss. Gods was so inflated. There's like a thing that I sometimes say, and like, not to do that thing where Nico automatically has to go to the most extreme dirty example possible, but like, you know, when somebody is like the most muscular guy in the world and all he does is flex, that's great. When somebody is the most, you know, he's just got the most perfect butt or the biggest dick, it's automatically great if he makes a video. But what does he do with it? What is the flex going toward? Is there actually like a you know, is it the beauty of a pose routine? Or is the guy just fucking flexing in the corner? Is there just like a guy who is just kind of thrusting and you're like, oh, he's big, so it's special? What is the importance of being the biggest, the best, the greatest? And genuinely, I have felt in many cases like Hickman's performance in the last couple of years has been, you're telling me he's so big, so I should be impressed, and I'm not. Gods was the most exaggerated version of that. But I do not feel like Wolverine Revenge was even worth the money I paid. And I think it was meant to harken back to ideas of books like Wolverine Havoc Meltdown and those sort of vanity projects. But what it wound up doing was putting me in a position where I felt like John Hickman was compromised for $1. And I got nothing from it. So Imperial comes out, and I'm not just wary, I'm weary. And it was the first A he's delivered to me since the Giant Size books. What a fucking knockout. I thought this was a taut, vengeful, psychological thriller. This was page-turning. This was nail-biting. It was sexy. It was fraught. It was delicate. Words were important. Line work was important. This was one of the best things he's ever done.
Yeah, I mean, you took a lot of words right out of my mouth. It really is so good. And like, one thing that Hickman does that they let him do that is really important, and I think about it when it comes to other people trying to make big moves, is there has been a Hulk book going on before this, and while it is
what a mean thing to say. You're so smart.
I mean, there were X-Men books going on right before House of X and Powers of 10. Like, he just starts where he's starting. And the thing I love about Hickman is he didn't not read your book. And he very well might pull in the thing that you just did, but he figures out a way to start things as though your book didn't just happen. Because, listen, there's a good chance we didn't read it. Like, if we're trying to restart and Hickman is being asked to do it, there's a good chance that book wasn't getting read, and that's why he's here. There's a good chance that character wasn't getting read. In this case, it's not just a Hulk book, but he's kind of doing the same thing with Wakanda too. A lot of people are not reading Black Panther right now, and the way he's talking about Wakanda, it's not an immediate reference to that book. And I'm somebody who gets pissed if you, like, you know, if Amadeus Cho had just died in the last issue of the Hulk book, and then we see him in this one alive, that really, or like, even, let's not even say died, let's say like broke his arm, and then in this first issue of Imperial, he's totally fine. Well, I need you to either say 6 months after that last issue of Hulk, or his arm needs to be in a sling. Like, we deserve that level of continuity. Otherwise, nothing that happened in that Hulk book matters. Hickman finds a way always to write in a way that what came before can matter if it was important to you. He's not going to dismiss it. He's not going to put anything in there that invalidates somebody else's continuity. But he is going to start you fresh, and he is not going to ask that you've read something that you probably didn't read. He's not going to make a bunch of references to things that you probably did not read, so that you come into the book feeling like, okay, I don't know who that is. I don't know who that guy is. I don't know what's going on here. These characters feel as though he might be writing them for the first time, and yet you know, because it's comics, that he's not. And I think if you are somebody like me who cares, you feel pretty confident that he's going to be good on the continuity. And so you go into this, it's Jen, Amadeus, and Bruce on a space plane. And things are not happy. And that is all I need. That is a great place to start. And he figures out how to do solid exposition while also really moving a story forward. The interesting contrast between this and Green Lantern. The Green Lantern stories that we're going to talk about later are just this is an issue. These are issues of the main Green Lantern book. We're into like the early 20s, the in numbering, and then the first 4 issues of Green Lantern Corps. Just your standard comic books. Like, this is not an event. But what is happening in the books, if I step back and try and explain to you what is happening in the books, this feels like it should be an event. This feels like it, in a lot of ways, it feels bigger than what happened in at the end of Absolute Power. Like, fixing the emotional spectrum feels like it should be one of the biggest events in the DC universe. And it feels like it could be. It feels like if you wanted it to be, you could have made this an event story. And you could have had this crossover, however. But this is just kind of a standard story that is happening. All the Green Lanterns are just kind of teaming up and doing Green Lantern stuff. Meanwhile, Imperial feels like a story that should be pretty niche. It's a murder mystery about B to C to D tier level characters. In space, as far away from Earth and the Avengers and the X-Men as humanly possible. Can you think of a single person in here besides Bruce Banner? And I don't count Bruce Banner, but even if you did, is there anybody in here who you would call A tier, popular?
You know, and it's like, it's a who's who of who Marvel has made popular over the last 15, 20 years. It's the Nova Corps because, Annihilation was popular, and it's the Hulks because, the Hulks were popular, and it's Star-Lord because Guardians was popular. It's a who's who of kind of almost never was's. And
but this is a big event book. Like this, you would think it was so niche, but it really is a big event book, and it makes you feel like it's going to be important. And you're going to want to watch and you're going to want to be there. And it's not that Green Lantern doesn't make you feel like it's important. Green Lantern makes you feel like, oh, it's another, the Lanterns are up to another one of their wacky adventures. But again, like the idea that they have to fix the entire emotional spectrum or like the universe will break.
That is correct.
That feels like, well, doesn't Batman want to chime in? Like, isn't this a little important? Don't we want to get everybody involved? But no, it's just Green Lanterns. It's just Green Lanterns in issue 21. Don't worry about it. So I think it's very funny. Like, it's very funny to me.
I agree. And, you know, one of the things that I was not expecting right away was that Imperial would bring in the entirety of like every part of Marvel families, because they hyped this thing as like Marvel Cosmic will never be the same. And what they meant was Marvel hierarchy will never be the same. It's almost like every big family came. This is like a mafia thing. It just happens to involve space. I also really like how much this is about representation of who you're meant to be in the Marvel universe. You know, the idea that Jen is a lawbringer in regard to Bruce being world breaker. That's great. That titling, that is much more effective than Starbreaker over in Green Lantern. I thought that one of the things that Imperial did that so few comics do for me is it made me excited to read what came next. I wasn't reacting to what was happening on the page. I was reacting to the thoughts it gave me, the ideas it made me have, the stories I want to tell coming out of this. Pulling in the Kree Skrull and having them be like, no, we just kind of thought we were doing business, sir. We just thought we were making money. Sorry. Holy shit! Like, that was so good. So good. Such a fun fucking book. The art was gorgeous. And there's an understatedness to this book for how overstated it is that only makes Hickman seem more incredible. You know, it's so weird that this feels like Bendis's Secret War, but so late in Hickman's career that how do you pull this off? This is such a shock twist. Speaking of shock twist, Doctor Who, you know, like it's like how did you pull this off? And I'm thrilled.
And I think it's interesting because Hickman did some stuff that he does a lot and did other stuff that he did not do other stuff that he does a lot. And I really appreciated it. X-Men, when House of X and Powers of 10 came out, much like Avengers World before that, there's no data pages in this. So there it is right there. There's no data pages in this. And Hickman is not telling you, he might do this later, but he's not starting here. And he did start right with it when X-Men started. And he did start right with it when he did Avengers. He's not doing like, here's the new structure of how the universe works. And he creates this, like, he creates a structure and he puts your characters in and he says, you know, well, Hulkling Doric is at the top of the chain, and then here are his 3 sub-rulers, and then everybody, and he shows you a data page that explains to you how the cosmic universe works. He didn't do that this time, which it's one of his big tricks, and we all live for it. I personally love to see everything really organized. So when he shows me, here's what the timelines were like, here's what the new structure of the X-Men is, here's what the plan was the whole time, here's what the Avengers, you know, here are the Avengers teams broken down, here's the leader. I live for that stuff because that lets me quantify and know where everybody is. And I love that because comics, sometimes I get really squirrely about like, well, where's my dude? Where's my guy? I think that nobody cares where anybody in Marvel Cosmic is, and it's too nebulas to really do that in Cosmic Marvel. So he skips that. But what he does do, there are like scene for scene matchups with gods, where gods did the exact same thing, where it's like, okay, all of the magic people get together in one room. And like sassy magic person, you say something sassy. And now Doctor Strange, who we all know, will correct you. And we had the same thing here where it's like space people all get in one room. Oh, this horse person is saying something sassy. And now Hulkling is going to say something to correct him, and we all know Hulkling, so like it's a mix of people we know very well in the room. Xandra is there, Professor Xavier's daughter, and so it's a mix of people we know and we don't know, and they're all having, as you said, a mafioso, like a space mafioso gathering. We did the exact same thing in Gods. It didn't work in Gods because we don't care about those characters, and nobody believed you that. I actually, now that I say it, I don't know why it's working here, because like it's a lot of the same stuff, and I just immediately did not believe that it was going to work for Gods. One of the big things is I think it might be because we started with new characters.
I was gonna say, literally, it's that when somebody says, "No, trust my new characters.
Yeah,
they've been important all along."
Fuck no, I never trust those pieces of shit. But I trust Bruce, Amadeus, and Jen. I think we're in business. I trust that things matter. Also, I'm uncomfortable with how hot Amadeus is.
You should not be. He is a 22-year-old college man.
The only teen to age in the Marvel universe. He absolutely was 13 when these books started out, when he was in the books less than 20 years ago.
It's funny because at Pride this past weekend, a person came on to me and then revealed they were in college. And I was like, "Oh, thank you so much." And he was like, "No, I had to. You're so handsome." And I was like, "You're very drunk. Thank you." And it made me kind of think about the way I really love sexualizing Dick Grayson now, because he's like 28. He's my peer, even if I'm a decade older. Whereas, Tim Drake is 16 forever, and the only way you'll ever make Tim Drake older is giving Damian a younger sibling, making Damian older, making Tim older, making Jason older, making, and it's forever in that regard. But like, one of the things that will eventually give Xandra her own, and it only really hit me for this moment that her name is like literally half Xavier, half Lilandra, and now I want to set their stupid feathers on fire. But the only thing
it's Xandra, or do you think it's Exandra?
I think it's like half Xavier, half Lilandra. I'm only surprised.
I know, that's why I'm saying. Is it Xandra or is it Exandra?
I'm hoping it's Xandra, like Jack's theater coach on Will and Grace. I'm hoping. So I feel like if she is ever going to stand a chance, she has to have an adulting.
Yeah.
One of the things that Foot Pervert did for the Runaways was that he invented a new, even younger runaway. And so Molly could age up because she was no longer the youngest runaway. And that's something that you kind of need to do to give these characters that kind of power. A lot of work was done by a lot of, frankly, very queer creators along the way. Your Anthony Oliveira's, to make Hulkling and Wiccan adults now, so that in Imperial they can be taken seriously at the table. Because
I'll do even further. It definitely
started
with it started with McKelvey and Gillen.
I actually think I feel the opposite. I've never seen them more as dumb teenagers in my entire life. That is for me drunk frat kids. That is.
Well, so I think
running around ruining things.
I think they're 14 to 16 when we meet them, and I think they're closer to 18 with McKelvey. And then I think they're adults. They're over 18 after that.
I really hear you. I feel like for me, it's not just the aging, it's what you do, because like Kamala Khan, you could convince me right now, is an adult.
And should be, but well, she's in college now, so she really should be an adult. But anyway.
Well, and so you say she's in college now, but when we meet them, they are seniors in high school in Young Avengers, and they are in college during Children's Crusade. They are literally, because of how much time they say has passed since certain things have had to have happened for them to have been this age. For it has been a year since this thing happened and a year since that thing happened. If you built out their timelines, by the Gillen McKelvey run, they should be like 22. And they're behaving like they're 18. And that's like a little bit of the problem for me. It's like it's the de-escalation of behavior for them to have already had coming of age moments at around 16 years old a year ago, that as superheroes, they are now pushing 18 for Civil War for them to be nearly adults. They need to be 16 when the book starts 2 years earlier, if not 17. And for there to be an age discrepancy where Cassie is younger, like there's key pivot moments, but like I don't even mean to like go on about the ages so much as like Imperial really benefits from all of this, from that we had these discussions and were unsure when they began. Imperial really benefits from this because it gets to just enjoy it now.
Yeah, I think, and one of my only critiques is this is like a Marvel thing more than like, I don't want to blame Hickman for this because who knows what his plans are for the book, but like, man, those boys can do a cameo. And boy, can it not be anything else in the last 5 years. Boy, will they just show up and be like, I got you, buddy. And then will they leave? And they're in this book. And like the whole point of the book is like, oh, you might be fucked, Hulkling. Like you might be the boss of being fucked. And he's like, I really don't want to be. And then he's gone. And I'm sure we will see him again because there's just, but like they have had so many, ranging from blink and you miss it to flip the page and you will miss them, appearances in Marvel Comics, but like have not been sat in a book in a hot minute. And I don't think it is any sort of editorial fiat around gay characters. I do think that people just don't necessarily have a use for them. And it's a little difficult because Hulkling is the emperor of the Kree and the Skrulls, and like
and has all the powers, and Wiccan has all the powers, and he's the child of Scarlet Witch and Vision, and he's the Demiurge, and
it's a lot. They are carrying a lot. I will say now, I hope one of my hopes is that this pulls some of that off of them, so that they can go back to being in books. Or like when was the last time we got a totally new team and book? I would love to get a new cosmic team that includes them, that is not like Guardians of the Galaxy,
Space Raiders. I don't care.
Yeah. Anyway, they are in this book. They are not in it for a lot of the book.
And I feel like that is almost how everybody behaves in this book. It's a lot of like, I'm in it for a minute unless I'm a Hulk,
or Jason of Spartax.
Yeah, I'm John Hickman and I have obscure interests. Good.
I really thought he was dead. I'm sure it's somewhere he has been brought back, but like I never needed to see Jason of Spartax ever again.
No. No. I loved though just how much of this book was like, fuck you, we're gonna kill some people.
Yeah.
It was really fun. I had a great time. I give this book an A. I have nothing but really positive things to say about the fact that if Marvel doesn't kind of like this book away, this could be a real turning point. Secret War by Bendis changed the Marvel universe forever. And like forever. It's literally New Avengers changed everything for comics.
Mm-hmm.
And this lays the potential. This lays the potential to redivide Marvel into houses instead of title counts.
Yeah. I have nothing but hopes. But I also know that things don't always go the way we want them to. I could just see this being completely paved over and ignored, but I really hope that it's not, because I think this does really have the best of what Hickman does when he is not asked to actually structurally reboot your property. Again, I'm thinking Avengers, I'm thinking X-Men. And I'm glad we're not doing that again. Those are big asks, and we saw how it ended up with the last one, which, as much as I love how it started, I am still recovering from how it ended, and in a lot of ways it kind of feels like Hickman is too. So I love the idea that we brought him into something where he could do cool stuff, but now it's on Marvel. Like, I let this turn into something and let interesting people come build on whatever happens at the end of this.
I think this is also one of the few cases where I am pro adding stuff. You know, I'm so glad you brought up so many times. I'm like, you know, that I hate when, like, I feel like things I say sound passive aggressive in the captions, but I mean them warmly. You brought up so many times that we're on issue like 23 of Green Lantern to highlight what an innocuous, stupid number to be doing some of these big things.
Yeah.
But like, it's actually like issue 38. Because we had the Night Terrors 2 issues, we had the Core special, there have been so many issues, and they've all been written by Jeremy Adams that have like expanded the canon, plus the Alan Scott stuff, plus the John Stewart stuff, plus we've had the Guy stuff in the background, Kyle stuff going on in a handful of titles, Sinestro stuff, and Sinister Sons running parallel other places. There's been so much going on in Green Lantern that, well, yeah, 22, 23, 56, and I'm fine with it, but I've never realized till this run how much the nature of Green Lantern is just keep resetting. We just go back to that same place over and over again, where we destroy the core, rebuild the core, do a core book, corrupt the core, kill the core, destroy the central battery, reveal an ultimate truth about the Green Lanterns, rebuild the core temporarily to destroy them again, to repeat the cycle. That is Green Lantern for 50 years. And I guess I like that it looks like today's art, but I'm starting to lose track of the references. I can only imagine how you feel. You must feel like every character on every page is somewhat important. No, some of them have had like 8 appearances, and they're just like wiki fan characters, and it doesn't fucking matter.
You know, the one I really had to take a second with?
Was it Nort?
No, well, Nort, I was like, I can tell this guy's important, but
Nort is really important.
Yeah, I was like, they're not giving me anything, but they found this guy in hell, so he's probably important. No, it was the Meat Cat Green Lantern getting yelled at in what a little cutie pie. But I was like, this is absurd. For one thing, completely jarring artist change. And then we have this anthropomorphic cat getting drill sergeanted by Kilowog. I was like, I know this cat can't be anybody important, but man, did somebody put a lot of effort into character designing the humanoid cat Green Lantern that I love so much, who I don't even know if he has a name. I need to go back and reread, because that's going to be my Green Lantern. But yeah, that really was where I was like, okay, remind yourself to take a deep breath, and you just can't know all the references. But Gnort was the other one. Where, yeah, I was like, obviously this, I mean, the other thing, like, I don't, I know that was a hawk woman of some kind. But like, I don't know her at all. And it's just anytime somebody goes, the 2 characters are talking, and then you get the off-panel word bubble, and it's like, I'll be the judge of that. And then the next page is a splash page, and it's a woman draping herself in a doorway. This is not exclusive to DC. Marvel does this too. You always know that woman is the like important unrequited sexual partner, former love of the guy. So immediately, I do love a comic shorthand. Like, that is just not even house style, it's both houses style. It's all houses style. If you have
in doorway means ex-lover.
Yeah, if you have 3,000 issues worth of continuity and you just simply aren't always willing to lay it out, put her in the doorway, leaning like this, going, I'll be the judge of that, always. And that, that's everything you need to know. So way to do that shorthand. I knew who she was immediately. And then other times it's like, it's a huge round ball of a man in a stasis chamber. I'm like, I bet that round ball of a man is hugely important. Because they're all like, it's Joe. So everybody knows him. I'm not in on the joke.
You're the idiot.
Yeah, I could pick it up from context clues.
It's so complicated because you never want to be like, your fandom is too deep. Right. Mm-hmm. But like, I find that with Green Lantern, there is a deep well of one-off characters. And what sucks is that Green Lantern really should be like X-Men at this point. There should be Green Lantern Corps. There should be Green Lantern Deep Exploration Team. There should be Green Lantern Mosaic, which would be the all-black team in honor of John's earlier title, Green Lantern Mosaic. There should be these things that allow us to explore Green Lantern so holistically when you've got 300 people who bear the title. But what winds up happening...
And they all have really different attitudes.
Yeah.
And you know, Jess is just like, I'm behind this fucking desk. Like, I almost in a way where you feel bad for the character and it feels a little weird. You're like, you have all this willpower and put this ring on just to pencil push. But like, that's her vibe. And it is like X-Men a little bit in that, like, I love that everybody is in a stylized Green Lantern. Like Simon is becoming quickly my favorite. He's very, very hot. So, but the fact that he isn't, you know, he's got a full cowl, which nobody else has. Kyle does domino mask. Like, everybody sort of has their, you know, Guy has his jacket. Everybody's got their vibe that is a spin on the costume. And you're just sort of missing, oh, you're more of an active fighter. I'm more of an active fighter. We should be the hit squad. And these guys should be the attaches, and you know, we should split the teams up. You know, we should have subcommittees, and we should follow them in stories.
You know, and it's sort of like where the flying around space of Green Lantern is sort of like, we put a bubble around ourselves. We went to the other planet really quickly. What a quick trip that was. Space really doesn't matter. Just imagine we're all on cruise ships. Bye. That, I swear, Green Lantern really misses the point of being in space so often. This era of Green Lantern has been one that I find very comfortable, but not truly engaging. Imperial is incredibly uncomfortable. Imperial is not a book that I'm going to go back to for snuggles, but this does kind of feel like the snuggle Green Lantern book, down to like all of the domestic bliss that we get out of Hal and Carol. It winds up being a little too domestic blissy at times. You know, cousin of domestic Chansey. And I really would like to see maybe something a little bit less akin to a book that carries the banner, and see something a little bit more, a book that challenges the paradigm. The whole point of Green Lanterns is that they're only limited by their imagination. So why is this book limited to rehashing canon that I've read already?
And that I can't speak to because I haven't read it.
Well, then you can't be on the show anymore. I'm kidding. No,
I know, I'm out.
But like, that's even part of it. Like, does this feel rote to you? Like, to me, even if you haven't read it, I feel like it should feel familiar by the numbers.
It does. And it also, they are overplaying their hand a little bit in that they keep saying we're like this is kind of all old stuff. And it's even like one of the things, this is where I get into the weeds a little bit, because I'm like, when was Carol first Star Sapphire?
1962, maybe?
Yeah.
Very, very, very early. I think it's like issue 16 or something.
And I know it has come up multiple times since then, but the way she talks about it in the book, it's like that once. once long ago, I was Star Sapphire and, you know, was taken over by a Predator. And I've always wanted to be a hero ever since then, and I've never been able to do it again. I sort of know
is dozens of times in that.
Dozens of times, right?
Yeah.
And it's you know, Emma Frost always talks about herself, and people always talk about her as though, like, you know, you're always flirting with the other side of things, because Emma didn't turn into a hero and then was always the best of the X-Men. I mean, in my heart she was, but like, she, you know, she has always, she basically, they've reflected on her whole life and been like, she's always done what she thinks is best for the children, including really bad shit that will benefit the kids. And so they look at her whole life and she never goes, you know, that one time I was a villain and since then I have always been a hero. They always point to her and they go, yeah, well, remember when the time you were in you were the fucking Dark X-Men? Remember the time you did this? Like, remember the time, you know, that you actually collaborated with Cassandra Nova? And so the way they always talk about Emma is like, well, you've always flirted with the dark side. And it comes off like there's this sort of acknowledgement of her whole continuity, where, you know, Carol is another good example. I know that she has been Star Sapphire many other times, but the book keeps talking about it like, just that one time I got to be her and I've always wanted to do it again. And it keeps referring to its own continuity and its own adventures in these really oblique ways that remind me that it's comic books. And, you know, they'll say things like, this happened once. And I'm like, I know this, you know, we're getting close to 100 years now that these books have been around. I know it didn't just happen once, because we don't ever think of new storylines. We just rehash the same stuff over and over again. I know the batteries have been destroyed more times than this. I know we've been without the Guardians before this. Like, is it talking about it like, oh, that one time that it happened? It just sort of paints a bigger reminder of the fact that, like, no, it's probably actually happened dozens of times.
And it winds up being a hollow threat almost.
Yeah, yes, exactly. That's really what it is every time I'm like, well, no. And it's the same way I'm like, Carol's victory feels like a hollow victory, because I'm like, you will probably stop being this character again for a big status quo shift, and you will probably be this hero again for another status quo shift. So you talking about it now like, oh, I gotta go hang out with Superman because when will I ever be Star Sapphire again? Or when have I ever been it before? Like, probably 6 years ago, if not less.
You know, Sinestro in a Green Lantern uniform is just an absolute built-in orgasm for me. Really one of my favorite characters of all time. And despite the fact that he's disgusting and reprehensible, he is...
But he was really cool in this issue. Or in that, I'm blending them all together because we read a bunch all at once. But
yeah,
he has an amazing storyline.
Yes,
saving the day and still being himself. Like the other, like there are great things about this. The whole idea that like everybody is aligned because they would like the world not to end. Yeah. And how that can make people effective. They're also gesturing at something that I don't think they're doing, but I wish they had, which is like maybe we want other people to exist as the other kinds of lanterns.
Oh my god, we're gonna make room for the fractured lanterns and the core shit. Oh my god.
But they keep trying to make them Green Lanterns. They don't want them to be red and yellow. Like my whole thing is like
assimilationist gaze.
Yeah, like my thing is like figure out how to make the Rage Lantern his own, like take care of him and let him
Rage, Sorrow. What are the other ones now? We've got
Defiance or
Disgust. Thank you, Disgust.
Yeah.
Oh my fucking god, this is wacky. Way to take what the Endless were and make it something superhero. What a cool move.
Also just an absolute sometimes I really editing. What are we doing here, guys? The huge splash panel, a sphere, and it is not a sphere, it is an egg. Just there are times with comics, man. And then it literally actually is an egg and there is a bird man in it and he yells at people.
So many birds. So many fucking birds. I think the other thing that I'm really excited to talk about when it comes to space is that like when you're talking about Green Lantern, the Green Lantern Corps, and the X-Men, one of the things you're talking about with space is the idea that there is something out there that connects to us. There is something out there that is different but the same. And Superman, Summer of Superman represents this other thing. Superman is an alien who comes to Earth and wants to be us. Green Lantern is a power comes to Earth and people want to stop acting human. And like, no wonder Bruce loves Clark and distrusts Hal. And like, one of the things though about that is like, I don't want to evolve past human, but like if somebody said to me, you could gain this new level to yourself, I'd go for it. I would want to believe I would. And I think Cosmic asks us to consider the cost of no longer being human. I think the reason that Jean Grey continues to be one of the most discussed X-Men is because, discussed X-Men is because she is someone who leaves being human behind. I once had a conversation with somebody who, when I said that I love X-Men First Class Jean Grey, but that's not my Jean Grey. My Jean Grey needs the Phoenix. And they were like, oh, so you only like her once she's too good to be real. And I was like, first of all, she's a child telepath. Fuck you for thinking she's real, you dumbass. Second of all, no, I want the person who grew. I don't want to take that growth away from her. It almost feels like Batman is a person who says, you are who you are, no matter what you become. And that's where Clark is his guy. Hal is the opposite. Hal is like, I grew past this. Look at me. I'm going to fight the fucking Spectre because I was him. And there's nothing that sums that up better than the Fantastic Four. They are both exactly who they were and who they were forced to become by those cosmic rays. And cosmic stories ask us to consider ourselves at our most amplified megaphone versions. And I feel like that's something we really got out of this discussion.
I also just feel like, other places do space better and with more commitment. I am, of course, talking about things like Star Trek and Star Wars, but space really is the final frontier. Space is always in our hearts and in our minds, and it's where we want to go. Like it's where we want to expand out to. And when you think about these incredible godlike beings, just superheroes in the world, we do really, it's the thing that I was saying, I've been saying and complaining about with One World Under Doom. This is not the first time that Doom has tried to take over the world. Doom has taken over the world before. And so at a certain point, they were like, well, we got to give Doom bigger enemies. We've got to give him bigger stuff to do. And they kept giving him bigger stuff to do and bigger worlds to conquer. And eventually he destroyed the entities that control all of reality in the omniverse, and he became more powerful than they are, and he controlled all of reality. And that's how we had the amazing Secret Wars event of 2015 and Battleworld and all that. And we're always scaling in that direction. We're always reaching out to the stars and what's behind the stars. And my complaint again with One World Under Doom is like, okay, so now we've returned to just like, he's going to go after the United Nations. That's not impressive compared to killing the Beyonders. It just isn't. So I don't care. But I am super down to watch the Hulks go into space. I love the idea of the Wakandans, who have always been the most advanced nation on the planet Earth, eventually deciding like, fuck this place. Especially like as an African nation and as a nation of black people, just being like, yeah, fuck all of you guys. We're going to plant our flag in the stars. I loved the idea of even just going one planet over for the X-Men and saying like, okay, we're not going to colonize, we're not going to colonize. We're not going to displace anybody in order to give our people a home. We're going to take this island we're in symbiosis with, and then we're going to go to this dead rock and we're going to give it life. And then from there that put them in contact. Again, it's another thing where if I'm a little bit bummed about Imperial, it's that we didn't see any of the Arakai or any other like spacefaring X-Men. Not to say that we won't or can't, but
it should have been there. I really get what you mean.
You know, we have so many axes on which to walk when it comes to superhero comics, because we also don't have to go out into space. We can go into other dimensions too. So like, I just love when we do that stuff. I love when we get off of the shell of the earth and go and expand. I don't need my heroes to always go. I actually really love in this case that we picked some niche heroes. We picked some smaller, less known guys and did something a little to the left of center.
We diversified the experience of being a big stage character.
Exactly. And my hope is, I love when an event like this finds a character and that character becomes a little bit bigger because of the event. And like, we just get to see them in a little bit more books, and we get to see them have a little bit more presence because they were in this really good story that a really amazing, well-known guy wrote. And it just gave them that little bit of extra weight.
I agree. You know, it's what made Kyle Rayner able to survive this stuff. You know, he was deleted at the end of his run in favor of, rebooting Green Lantern. And it was people paying attention to him, his time as Ion, his time in the Green Lantern Corps, that gave him the opportunity to shine again. It's that kind of magic that gave a character like Gambit. You know, people remember, I don't know. I feel like everybody winds up with big dick idiot blinders. We all just sort of look back and go, wasn't Bergie so good on Traitors? But really, he was just cute. And like, Gambit truly did not matter from Extreme X-Men until X-Men 97. And everybody's just on the Gambit train again. But no, nobody's talking about when he was Death's Horseman or when he was running around Extreme X-Men living a normal non-mutant life so that he and Rogue could just be happy. Nobody's talking about the turns he took in minor books, his bad solo by Clayman. Nobody is talking about those things. They just remember how cool Gambit is, and they pick up all the stuff that they need to pick up about this character from the wiki. And like, it took somebody doing something cool with him again to make him cool again. And don't get me wrong, Bo DeMayo has ruined it for every one of us who loves to flex on the internet. He has made it so that Disney will never trust somebody who takes their shirt off on the internet ever again. But he made Gambit cool again. And for that I say, well, takes a big dick idiot to know a big dick idiot. And I feel like with characters in the cosmic spectrum, it's always your one good creator away from making you so cool. And whether it's James Gunn making Star-Lord the biggest thing, or it's the Annihilation crew bringing the Nova Corps back to the mainstream, or Jim Starlin and all of his initial work on things like The Death of Captain Marvel and Adam Warlock that made it such a powerhouse. But we would have never had the most successful film in the history of superhero movies, Infinity War, if it weren't for Thanos and the Thanos copter evolving into, the Infinity Saga. So I'm grateful.
I agree.
This was a great episode. I love our format, which is why we're going to change it real soon. But we're having a great time. We're doing stuff.
Just playing around.
Yeah, no, we're just being big dumb sexy comic guys. So if they got to do it for 32 fucking years before Wizard came in and said, hold on, we're gonna publish pictures of you guys, then we get to do it over here on YouTube. No, I'm having a great time. I love this. There's things that it kind of bums me out that we can't escape. We heard that Dan Slott was leaving Marvel, but why did he have to go to DC? I'm kidding. Because where else is going to pay his bills? So I love what we're doing. I do want to bring in some more indie comics. We've talked about this. I religiously read Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's my favorite fucking thing. I religiously read Hellboy. I I think I've read every volume. Yeah, I feel like I can pretty comfortably say that I've read every early volume of Love and Rockets. There's stuff that I read that really affects me, that I love, that it changes the way I feel about comics, that we've never gotten to talk about. But part of this whole idea of talking about anything is we'll be able to talk about anything. And I'm really excited to bring in things like the sexy redesign on Captain Planet, my love of Darkwing Duck comics, and more.
Yeah, I've got a few on my list. The biggest one, I don't think this is worth more than like maybe just a one episode discussion, but I do want to talk about Coheed and Cambria's Amory Wars, which
I
is
think that there are whole podcasts about that, dude. So
Yeah.
if you ever wanted to talk about it, we could go full hog.
yeah, which is actually they're in the midst of publishing now, which I backer kidded. But yeah, I'm super down to talk about a bunch of stuff. I just love talking comics with you.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's very few things I love in this world like getting to look at that guy. So it's super exciting. And speaking of guys I love to look at, KEVO, when you pop in and out of this show, it is always a magical experience for us. It is a definite multiverse saga. And if everybody wants to follow your multiverse saga, where can they find you on the interwebs of Life and Destiny?
You can find me at KEVO Really. That's KEVOREALOY. I love making this show too. I'm excited that we're opening stuff up. I've got a lot of weird niche comics that I may pitch. Maybe we'll finally read the Atomic County comics from the OC and review those. Who knows? Who knows? I actually wrote down closing thoughts because, I was really thinking about what you were saying with status quo stuff and the need for Cosmic to change. And it was really making me think about how it ties into what we were talking about earlier and how many things are really bumping up against that status quo. And I feel like the problem with having the Wakandans go to space or mutants go to space is that people don't want to shake up these universes enough to make them different from our real world. So they can still have that touchstone and reference point back. But we've gotten to such a place because these universes weren't meant to be decades old and hundreds of stories old, where like Doctor Who had that episode this season where there was a conspiracy theorist who didn't believe in aliens. And like, can you really do that with how you've done Doctor Who over the last 20 years? It's tough. It's like how we talk about the struggle of not aging Peter Parker. And, we need to start seeing these things evolve. And so I think everything you're saying about wanting to see space evolve, like, let's just have Marvel colonize their own solar system. I know we can't do it here, but there's a lot of stuff that isn't real to our Earth, and we kind of just need to detach from reality at a certain point.
That was my point about Jean Grey. Everybody who's like, you only like her when she's the Phoenix? That's not realistic.
Why don't you like her when she's the Phoenix?
Do you know what's not realistic? Finding a green-eyed, red-haired woman living in New York City. That's not realistic. That's
harder.
2% of the population. Eat a dick. You're full of lies.
Word.
But Kevin, no, that's a really great point. I really love what a sane, calm point you made to boop us out. And I'm going to boop us into another sane, calm person. When I think of sane, calm people, I always, in fact, think of this person. TK, you are so chill. I could put an icebox cake in you and eat it 3 days later. I would love to know, for you, what family is missing from Imperial. And where we can find you, fawn over you, and eventually full-grown deer over you.
I mean, it seems so obvious to say it, but right off the bat, the Greys. Because Mama, Jean, she do be chilling out in space right now.
Mama, I just want you to know, loving you is like food to my bird's soul.
And, Rachel can get out there real easy. Nathan just body slides wherever he wants to go. Scott was recently seen deadlifting 315, which I honestly have to say isn't impressive with the body that he is drawn having in that issue.
Yeah, I don't want to like, but like sometimes I see these numbers and I'm like, no, nobody can curl 415. But then I see people squat 350 and I'm like,
Yeah.
on a Wednesday.
I easily deadlift 350. Like that's not a one rep for me, and I'm not very strong. I'm just active, but like I also do not have Scott Summers' body. So just I'm just saying, you know. Also, the bar is fully bending, and which just 315 is not going to do. Anyway, I've got thoughts. I've got feelings. So the Grays,
Play-Doh bar.
the Grays are missing from space. We would want if somebody was going around killing all the horse people. We would want the Grays there, solving the mystery. You can talk to me about that and anything else you want to discuss at TK Accidental on Blue Sky. Nico, what aliens were missing from the mafioso group?
I love that question. What aliens were missing? You know, for me, one of the things that comes to mind when I think about Marvel Cosmic is I think about the fact that we've been told that Asgard is meant to be a cosmic force in Marvel. Now, I know that we are also doing the, you know, Thor is not cosmic thing in Ewing's book where everybody's forgotten about Thor. But I just don't buy it. I just don't buy it, and I feel like there should be a god contingent. I feel like Loki would have schemed his way in, and it really strikes me just how hard that Hickman has avoided using Loki. And I'm going to keep that in mind as we go forward. Because that leaves Loki for me. So, but until then, you guys can find me being all sorts of obsessed with Imperial right now. Really loving having a favorite Marvel book this week. You guys can find it over at Nico Action, NICOACTION. You guys can check out the music at Nico Action Music, NICOACTION You guys can check out all the feeds of this show. X's for comics, X's for podcast, and more at cageclub.me, where we house all of our stuff. But don't forget, you guys can also check out this show, X's for Show, all over here at YouTube. And what we would love for you guys to do is like, comment, and subscribe. But 3 things you guys could do for yourselves that would mean the world to us. Number 1, please stay safe. It's a crazy world out there. They're making all kinds of announcements about video games all sorts of time. You never know when they're going to release a new title. You never know when there's going to be a new Marvel fighting game. And I would hate to see you get Hadouken. But number 2, you guys can be brave, because we love the spirit that you have inside of you, the fighting spirit, as it were. But number 3, you guys can evolve daily, because who you were yesterday, incredible. Who you are today, that is amazing. But who you are tomorrow, that's the PC edition that we needed 7 years ago. So until you are as cool as Marvel's Contest of Champions, stay smart, stay sharp, and we'll see ya.